Hello friends, it's Terry with Terry's Mailbox. Thanks for joining me again. Today I am spotlighting the embossing folder, 3D embossing folder, Sunshine Blossoms, just released from Altenew. And I was real happy with this one because I love big images. So look at the size of the images on that embossing folder. I think they're just gorgeous, and it covers an A2 card. You could probably stretch it onto a slim line. But again, what I'm doing is I've got my Gelli Plate already laid out there, and I've got my inks. I'm using hydrangea, turquoise, lime, fresh lemon, fuchsia, and orange cream. And then I'm going to put that on the Gelli Plate and then lay the flat side of the embossing folder in on top to pick up the ink and then run it through with a piece of cardstock. So you can see here I've just kind of started putting the ink on, and I do get all of the colors on eventually, but what I do is I brayer them in between and run them off on that sheet on the right. So you can see here I've used all the colors, and I've kind of brayered off onto that right side, and I just laid the flat part of the embossing folder onto the Gelli Plate, and now I'm going to emboss it with my die cut machine. And you can see that it colors the background but doesn't color the flowers, so that's kind of cool. Now I had leftover ink on the Gelli Plate, so I decided to go ahead and pick it up. So I pulled another piece of white cardstock, and I'm just kind of pressing it on there to get the image to transfer for me. And then when we pull it up, you can see that I've got a little bit of a texture there, a little bit of the image there in the center. And what I ended up doing with this one is I ended up running it through the embossing folder again to get that texture back. And so you can see here, sorry I'm off camera a little bit, but there is that one after I've run it through the embossing folder. So again, here are the three backgrounds I ended up with. The one on the top is obviously the brayered one that I did emboss. Thought that turned out really, really cool. The next one is the one that the first one I did, just putting the folder directly on the Gelli Plate. And then the last one is the leftovers from the impression from the Gelli Plate. So what I ended up doing was I wanted to cut the words hugs for that white flower. I almost thought I wasn't going to use that third one at all, which is why I'm only kind of focusing on the two. But I cut the word hugs out of that extra piece. And then use that to, to spotlight. And so here I'm just kind of drawing, where I want to cut this embossing folder to make the best use of the flowers. So I'm kind of just drawing it out here so I knew exactly where to make my cuts. So I'm kind of thinking I like where the other one is placed. So again, here is the card where I ended up cutting the hugs out of that the other card. And so just kind of showing you that, again, that background pops up, and then I've got the white flower on that one. The next one, this is the one I thought I wasn't going to use. I cut that hugs out of there and kind of set it aside. But I figured once I added the yellow ink on there to highlight the flowers, I really was pleased with the way this one turned out. And so I actually, on the brayered one, ended up using the yellow ink again to really spotlight it. And then I just found a sentiment that I like, that I just ended up stamping up there on the right-hand side. So again, using my Gelli Plate, I was able to create three very different appearing cards. So I hope you have enjoyed my overview today. And be sure to look at the other embossing folders in this July 2022 release from Altenew. They really do have some amazing things. So here's a peek at the cards again. And again, this is Terry with Terry's Mailbox. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Blogger, and YouTube. I'd love to have you subscribe.